guys. So I think all of us have had at least a few stomach dropping moments in the past several months. Something was canceled, someone was canceled, or you learn of something that just sort of takes your breath away in a very bad way. For me personally, it was waking up one morning in late April, logging onto Facebook and seeing myself tagged in a friend's post about Crane Stationery closing permanently. Now, I think of myself as a fairly calm person, but had I been wearing pearls, which I wasn't, I definitely would have been clutching them. Why was I so devastated? Well, Crane is to American stationery what Edgar Allan Poe is to the horror novel. The latter would simply not exist in its current form without the former. Crane was founded in 1770 in the Boston area by Stephen Crane. Bear in mind, this was a rebel brand with major revolutionary street cred. As such, its first customers were Boston's activist elite. Paul Revere used Crane paper for his engraved banknotes, and those banknotes helped finance the American Revolution. The story of Crane is the story of America. Stephen himself took part in a little rebellion better known as the Boston Tea Party. His son Zenas opened the Dalton plant in 1799. Since that time, Crane has printed and provided the paper for banknotes, government proclamations, stocks and bonds, important documents of every imaginable type from this humble plant in Massachusetts. And when it came to stationery and custom stationery, Crane has pretty much become synonymous with the best. There's still people out there that want their child's wedding invitation engraved on Crane paper, just like theirs and the mothers and their mothers before them. Crane has printed invitations to nearly every presidential inaugural ball, as well as the printed responses that Jackie Onassis sent out following JFK's assassination. Crane is American history. The company has gone through several changes over the past several years, and in April 2018, Mohawk purchased Crane Stationery and Papers, including the Lettra and Crest papers. These papers are not made from wood pulp. They're actually 100% cotton, mostly scraps from the garment industry. So there's an upcycled quality to them. Crane papers respond beautifully to letterpress, engraving, embossing, foil stamping, all the paths to a paper nerd's heart. If you've ever bought a letterpress card, chances are it's on Lettra. Now, through the years, Mohawk has been a major supporter of the paper chronicles, stationery trends, as well as the paper nerd. So I've had a front row seat to the entire transition. Mohawk was so excited about this acquisition and really wanted to do right by this amazing brand and history. Mohawk, after all, is another family-owned business, so they really saw it as a great evolution of its own brand and story. And as a result, they were in the midst of a lot of really exciting things with Crane before COVID happened. But COVID did happen. But I'm so glad to tell you that the rumors of Crane's demise that very dark April morning were completely exaggerated. That does not mean, unfortunately, that there haven't been a lot of changes that have had to be made in order to keep their doors open and their presses printing. A lot of their clients, meaning the stationers who create amazing invitations and announcements through Crane, they now have a lot of adjusting to do. Believe it or not, in 2020, a lot of them were still faxing orders into Crane. But these design professionals are also dealing with weddings and parties and galas, their lifeblood being canceled one after the other. And my heart goes out to them as well in all this. So with all of this serving as exposition and with the understanding that there was some inaccurate reporting in the mix, I wanted to let Crane take the narrative back, so to speak, as it is their story. So I have a really special guest for you today. Bart Robinson, the Chief Revenue Officer of Crane Stationery, is going to take us through it all right after this. Hey, paper peeps. So, by now, many of my listeners are familiar with the force of stationary nature, better known as Girl with Knife. But if you aren't, time to change all that. From the first moment I spied her booth at her New York Now trade show debut in 2019, I was smitten with this cutting edge range that the world was calling out for. We all just didn't know it yet. Everything is nimbly collaged to life, slice by careful slice by the talented and exquisite Alicia Castaldi. This stylish collection of cards, journals, and notepads that have sprung to life under this fashionista's exacting knife is sharp, snarky, sleek, and occasionally very sweet, just like that BFF who would love to hear from you right now. For that reason, whenever I get my hands on Girl with Knife merchandise, I hoard it and use it most sparingly. Alicia recently launched Gift Wrap, and if you're already a fan of her range, you're familiar with her patterns and quality, but these super thick sheets elevate any gift from off the rack to atelier. Her recent releases of Midnight Botanical, Rare Creatures, and Chasing Dreams bring the total styles that slay up to 10. And if you're like me and that you fall in love with a range and want to reside in that world, you're in luck. Alicia recently unveiled Knife House, which was one of the few good things I can think of that came out of 2020. That was when Alicia shifted her operation from LA to this newly renovated concept home in Palm Springs. This completely private, walled and gated estate features panoramic mountain views and countless luxe surprises. Take a tour through its magnificent blush pink doors at www.knifehousepalmsprings.com or find it on Instagram at Knife House Palm Springs. Good luck getting your jaw off the floor as you take in this perfect California adult playground. These glamorous digs are available for photo shoots, film projects, special events, and short-term rentals. But just as importantly, all that exquisite Palm Springs flora and fauna have inspired Alicia's soon-to-be-released journal and notepads. She tells me that they're also expanding into home decor, which I, for one, absolutely can't wait to see. So now that you've glimpsed this wonderful world, you need this cutting edge lifestyle brand in your life. Find Girl with Knife in hundreds of shops across the US and over half a dozen countries. Alicia and Girl with Knife have also been featured in New York Magazine, LA Business Journal, BuzzFeed, and of course, Stationery Trends. I've run her work there countless times. Alicia was one of our 10 designers to watch in 2020 and proceeded to live up to that designation when last May, 2 out of her 3 nominated cards took chap honors at the Noted and Noted virtual greeting card competition. Then, for our winter 2021 issue of Stationery Trends, Alicia designed the 10 designers to watch frontispiece for us. It is something else if you haven't seen it yet. Also, as of 2021, Alicia is represented by none other than the Daniel Richards showrooms in Atlanta and Dallas. Dan's eye is renowned in this biz, so his representing Girl with Knife is unsurprising, but it also means that this brand needs to be on your design radar stat. Check out this beguiling range at the recently refreshed girlwithknife.com. Right now, the theme is Season of Fierce, and I think we can all use one of those about now. I guarantee your stationery will slay. Okay, I'm here today with Bart Robinson of Crane. Welcome to the Paperfold, Bart. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to know what was going on with Crane pre-corona and what you were grappling with, or what your challenges were as 2020 kicked off.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Mohawk Paper bought Crane a couple of years ago, and we've really been working towards a long-term plan. This wasn't something that we expected would turn around overnight. And so heading into 2020, we were very excited about the opportunities that we had in front of us. We had just concluded our new branding that we spent a lot of time researching, working with a great firm out of New York City called Collins. And we had actually planned and had a gathering of all employees back in the first week of January, where we unveiled the logo, we unveiled our plans to show that to the retail community, which we did do at NSS in February.
Sure. And it was, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, I love the new logo. It was an amazing show. You guys had the printing um, set up, and it was one of the most dynamic parts of NSS.
Yeah, we really wanted to try to engage the audience, right? And so by having the foil machines there and showing some different things that we can do, and then as well as show the new brand and kind of a more clean, modern looking crane, quite frankly, it got met with mixed reviews, right? People are, change is difficult for people, but we feel strongly that the new logo and the new brand and the new direction really will help us kind of incorporate a larger audience.
Sure.
So we're very excited about the showing off of that. But as we were kind of heading into that, right at the beginning of the year, just after we had our original meeting with all of the employees, we found out that Papyrus, which had about 250 stores, was filing for bankruptcy. And that was a huge blow to us. They were about 12% of our total business, which, as you know, we work with tons of retailers, probably about 1,500 in total. So one company to be 12% is quite a huge hit.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, but despite that blow, right, we kind of re-looked at the year and said, okay, we don't have that particular piece, but what can we do to the customer doesn't go away, right? If you're buying stationery from Papyrus, it's not like all of a sudden you stop buying stationery. Right. So we were working really hard with our other retailers to help them understand what was Papyrus selling in different markets, and going to them and saying, hey, these might be the types of items that you may want to bring in and put on your shelves. And Paper Source actually was in the midst of buying or really taking over. They weren't buying anything. They were taking over about 19, I think, or so of their stores.
Sure.
And then, of course, COVID-19 hit, and that kind of spun everything into a whole new world, as you know.
Sure, absolutely. There's no need to kind of replay and go blow by blow the difficulties encountered with the North Adams crane plant. But in the but as it was playing out, I mean, you guys really lost the narrative. In the interest of taking it back, I'd like you to just sort of give a chance. I'd like to give you a chance to share from your perspective the difficulties first you encountered in keeping it open, and then the amazing solution that you were able to come up with to keep products, being created.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to be able to tell your side of the story, right? So we all have struggled through the last, what's it been, 3 months at this point in time, and we were no different. And we had a early on COVID case, and we shut down the facility to make sure that we were completely protecting the employees. As we were going to come back up several days later after the cleaning, the state of Massachusetts actually, put restrictions on different companies from essential versus non-essential. Ultimately, we deemed ourselves at that time to be non-essential. It wasn't there. There was some gray area. So we decided not to come back. Orders were definitely drying up. Retailers weren't open. So the flow of orders, dates were in question, right? So all the brides that, I feel awful for all the people that have had to rearrange plans that I know that they put, tons of time, effort, and passion into. So we decided to, take that time and stay down. And then when we were able to come back up, we did get PPP money, which was very helpful to be able to bring all of our employees back online. And as we went through that process and trying to determine where we would end up, the biggest issue, Sarah, as you know, what's going to come back? What's it going to look like? No one has the crystal ball of, is it 1 month, is it 2 months, or is it 6 months or a year?
Right.
And we still don't, right? We're 3 months in and we still don't have a good answer to that question.
Right. And that
Um,
might be the hardest part because it makes it impossible to plan.
it is, and when you're a company our size, and the fixed costs that we carry on a monthly basis with our normal group of people,
Mhm.
and the inability to work side by side, because if you've ever been to our plant, I mean, we have 65 different machines, and so we had to curtain off every other machine and could only bring back a percentage of the workforce,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it, but
Mm. No, that's insane.
yeah,
That was that
it
was my
is,
comment.
yeah, and it is, and I think that the people were very gracious about coming back in. We had people that were either had some sort of a situation at home or their own health situation that they were not comfortable coming back in, and they didn't have to. And at the time that we opened back up, we said that we would be on the PPP for the following 7 weeks, but at the end of that PPP period, that we would need to be making some drastic changes.
Uh-huh.
And so we worked through our plan to try to determine. Again, it's a guessing game on what does the future look like, and after you kind of go through that exercise, then you have to identify, okay, what are the resources that we need?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where we ended up in that middle point of you're open back up, but you're unsure about your future.
Sure. 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 So I never really realized the proximity of North Adams to Cohoes, which is the location of the main Mohawk
Right.
facilities. Can you explain how you were able to sort of merge those operations?
Yeah, so because one's in New York and one's in Massachusetts, we always assume, right, that they're farther apart
Hmm.
than they are. I would say there's only about 40 miles in between the Cohoes facility and here in North Adams.
Sure.
And so when we looked at the future and how we wanted to move forward, we know that we have to begin to take on some of the synergies that Mohawk offers, right?
Hmm.
Especially some of the administration things, some of the
Hmm.
accounting, some of the IT, some of the HR resources, and those things that if you stay as two separate companies, you need a lot more people.
Sure.
And so in this process, we decided that we would move the equipment to Cohoes.
Hmm.
Our plans for that are later this year. Um, we are continuing to work out in North Adams until we get to that point.
Hmm. Hmm.
The, the good slash, I guess the good thing is we
Hmm.
had enough equipment that we can continue to produce and work from here in North Adams while we can also send duplicative equipment over to Cohoes, get that set up, and our employees will literally be able to leave work on a Friday in North Adams and show up on a Monday in Cohoes and get to work.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's the beneficial part of again we don't have we have less than half of the business that we had before, but at least from an equipment standpoint, we can make that switch.
Sure. Sure. And of course, one of the most important assets of Crane is the quality and classic design. And many of the crane artisans have been doing their highly specialized work for decades. So, how do you have a sense of how many are going to be able to make that switch from Massachusetts to New York?
Sure, sure. And I'll just reiterate the
Sure.
really the most important aspects of Crane are the artisans, right? It is
Hmm.
the quality and the classic design. So it's it's not something that you can go hire somebody off the street and fill a machine.
Right.
There is multiple years of training that goes into being able to run an engraving press or a thermography press, and then also to have the eye from an inspection process, right, that we go through with every single order.
Right.
So it's been very important to make sure that in this move that we could take all of our artisans that are
Hmm.
needed, especially to run the equipment.
Hmm.
So we have about I would say the number is going to be around 40 people that will continue on with the company.
Hmm.
About half of those will be traveling over to New York, and
Okay.
the other half will be able to work from home. It's been interesting through COVID, right? We never really worked from home. Oh, Sarah, you get to work from home,
I
Sarah,
know.
some, but the rest, but us here at Crane have always kind of come into the factory and
Sure.
done our job, and it's definitely caused us to look into different ways to do business, and we believe that going forward that an at-home group when it comes to customer service and concierge and marketing can be done from home so that we can keep the talent that we have and we don't have to either rehire or ask them to drive that drive every day.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's great. It's a great way to treat employees. It's a great way to take care of your customers, and you're making the best of a really difficult situation.
Well, thank you, and I want to express how difficult the decisions were. Right,
Right.
I've got a chance to work here in North Adams for it's been over 2 years. I've been a long time Mohawk employee, but was given the opportunity to come over and support this team, and I just can't say enough about the relationships that I was able to build, the people and how much they care about the company and the product and the customer. And it's heartbreaking that we've had to make these decisions because we've lost a lot of really good people for this company, and in turn have put a lot of stress on our customer base. Right, we're
Right.
having to do things differently, and I think that unfortunately that's what we need to do, but it's not the same way that we used to work with them in the past, and I know that's difficult for them, but it's not lost on us that we're making it difficult, but it's not on purpose. It's just
Right.
it's a matter of survival, right?
Right. Exactly. So then I know that leads me to my next question. You had sent out a letter communications to all of your dealers and sort of outlining Crane's capabilities and restrictions as of June 5th. Now, the changes that you made support 85% of the orders that you've received, which to me is like, it's a pretty good number given the challenges you're working with. So rather than delving into like, okay, you can no longer accommodate belly bands, you
Right.
mentioned to me that every day you're talking with dealers, sort of explaining the necessity of all these changes and sort of holding their hands through it. Can you give me a sense of the concerns you're hearing and how you are addressing them?
Sure, sure. Any change, as I said before, it causes anxiety.
Right.
And you immediately, although we can still cover 85% of the things, you immediately think about the 15% that we can't do, right?
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
you're used to going to a grocery store and 85% of the things are there, you're more disappointed about the 15 that aren't, than even though it
Right.
even though that doesn't make up what you do most of the time, right?
Right.
So I think that as things begin to settle out, the bulk of the customers are still here to support us. We're trying to help walk them through. There's new systems that some of them are
Hmm.
having to learn. But I when I get a chance to talk to them one on one, I really talk about the economics of the business because it's easy for people to say, "Oh, Crane doesn't want to do that anymore," and it's not about not wanting to do it. It's about the economics of the business.
Right.
In any one of the last 10 years, if COVID-19 happened, this company would have either had to do what we did or would have gone under.
Right.
There's not the way that Crane has worked for the last 10 years is you lose money for the first 10 months,
Hmm.
and you try to sustain long enough to get to November, December, and you make enough back in order to break even for the year, right? So it's
Right.
you put all this pressure on yourself for 10 months to get 2 months worth of satisfaction.
Sure.
And when you're looking at our size and you're looking at something where you don't know that you're going to get those 2 months,
Hmm.
and by the way, those first 10 months look way worse than they normally do.
Sure.
Our fixed cost of $1.2 million a month. If we're only getting 20 or 30% of the orders, we're going to lose over $1 million every month,
Right.
and we know we're not going to make that back up in the fourth quarter.
Oh,
So it really put that big strain on. We had to do something, and we had to make sure that it was quick enough and deep enough to make sure that we could come out of it. And I always tell the people that I talk to, are we going to bring some things back? Maybe, right? We don't know. But what we can't do is wishy-washy about where we are. We have to be able to make decisions, and if we don't have a solution today, we're saying we're not going to do it. That doesn't mean we won't find a solution, and it doesn't mean we won't come back to it. But we can't say we might or not right now. It's like we're not doing it.
right,
And then when we come back, it'll be something that's nice that we can add on and build back the company that we were.
right, right, right. I mean, this is very realistic and it's, practical and, obviously it's frustrating for the, people wanting things a certain way, but, we've all got to get used to not getting exactly what we want.
Sure, sure. And I always say to them, if you were doing something that was unprofitable, as a business owner, you're not going to continue it. You can't, right? Or you
Right.
won't make it through. If it's a hobby, that's fine. If you do something as a hobby, it's a lot easier. When you're doing something as a business, you actually have to be able to sustain. And
Right.
and that's what this does for us. Is it gives us that ability to sustain through this difficult time and hopefully thrive once things come back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, one really interesting thing that you mentioned when we chatted was you mentioned that the industry has to embrace tech to enable the creation of touch items. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm a long time paper guy, right? And so
Hmm.
my career has been at its end, according to the world, for 20 years, right?
Hmm.
Paper is going to die, and we're all going to be using electronics, and obviously that has not happened, and I don't think it will in our lifetimes.
Hmm.
But there's an interesting thing that's happening with the younger generation as well, right?
Hmm.
So, I have kids anywhere from the age of 16 up to 22.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if they get something in the mail, it is like their birthday. And because there is an appreciation for that physical thing.
Right.
It's Yes, they're very comfortable on their phones, but that physical thing is not only something that they are looking forward to seeing,
Hmm.
but there's an appreciation for it. And they do keep those notes, right? They do keep the birthday cards. They do keep those physical things that they don't keep the text that someone says happy birthday, but they are keeping that physical thing.
Sure.
And so I think that you have to be able to uh, help people who are really engaged in tech right now appreciate and see things that are touch related.
Hmm.
But in the reverse, those of us who have grown up and lived through a very much a touch world and an appreciation for stationery and things like that, we have to identify that, what, technology has to make it easy to get it,
Right.
right? So it's people like Mented do a very good job of allowing someone to come in.
Right.
It may not be the exact same things that we can do at Crane, but
Hmm.
it's something that's physical.
Right.
And we at Crane have to make sure that if you want our types of products from a retailer, that you can work with them, hopefully, come into their store. But if you can't come into their store, how can you work with them in an online tool so that you can finish that thing through the store? Or there's some way that the bad thing about an online only company is it's hard to sample and it's hard to feel what you're getting.
Hmm. Right.
We at Crane have the ability to utilize and partner with our 1,400 stationaries that are an outlet for someone to go touch and feel the product.
Right.
So you're not blind to what you're going to get. You have a chance to go feel, and we're really pushing, even in our technology, we want to try to push, you know, the fact that maybe you can browse and see things online, but how do you get into the retailer and physically touch it and be able to get maybe help with etiquette or other things that you're not comfortable doing online
Hmm.
only.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. I think it's great, and I think it just makes sense. It's just from an evolutionary standpoint, it just makes a lot of sense. Um, so obviously, the days of faxing orders and proofs are behind us.
Yeah.
And so, what changes has Crane implemented during this huge shift. And can you describe your concierge program a little bit?
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I think that's been the biggest change for our retailers, right? We used to take lots of orders in via email or fax, and we have gone to where there's really three ways that we can take an order.
Hmm.
We've had a long time system called PDS,
Hmm.
Personal Design Studio, and in that system, the retailer can pull up the items that they can see in an album. They can build their own products. They can submit that, and that order can move straight to the floor.
Sure.
Um, and the second way is to use our website.
Hmm.
Our website offers many of our products. We have been working on building a new personalization engine for the website that will launch in the fall, early fall.
Okay.
And we're very excited about that, and we think that that gives an opportunity for retailers who, PDS gives you the ability to let and kern and do a lot of design things that a normal website won't
Hmm.
allow.
Wow.
But some people don't want to do all that, so our website would be an opportunity. And then we have concierge, and concierge is a concierge is there to help you put an order through our system.
Hmm.
And so this was really what we used to do with every order was
Hmm.
pretty much concierge
Right.
service.
Right.
But now we've kind of put it out there. There is a fee to use the concierge service, but they have an expanded amount of fonts that they can use. They have an expanded amount of an ability to make sure that a monogram fits within a particular design. They can, help with different colors. They can do those more difficult things that maybe the stationery person or retailer is not comfortable doing themselves.
Sure.
And so that's a service that we put in place. We've actually gotten quite a bit of you know people looking for that here early on. I think some of that has to do with they're not quite as comfortable with PDS as they'd like to be yet.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think some of it's that's they want that expert, and that expert is someone that can help them, and they're willing to pay that fee.
Sure, sure. And I'm sure for some clients, you almost need it for some of these orders that you must get. Um,
Yeah.
so granted, it is hard to look ahead when the news changes every day. But as you look ahead to the next year or so, what do you foresee as the best potential outcome?
Yeah, if I could look ahead and I had a crystal ball, I would have seen this coming, right? So,
Yeah, really,
unfortunately,
you would have been 100% prepared.
that's right. That's right. Unfortunately, I did not have that. But as far as Crane is, well, first of all, in the industry itself, right?
Mhm.
COVID
Right,
is going to take its toll.
right.
It's taken its toll on us. We will be a smaller company than we were before coming out of COVID. I think it will take a toll on some of our retailers, right? A lot of our customers are sole proprietors. It's been very difficult to get back into the location. Even as I talk to people today, if they're opened up,
Hmm.
there's not a lot of browsing going on, right? They're coming in and they're buying, and for a retailer, that makes it tough. Your
Right,
your average order value is down because you're not getting someone that's saying, "Oh, I didn't come in to get this, but I like this," and they're taking it home.
right, right. And
So,
especially in
so
our industry where we're a
yeah,
touchy industry. I mean, like I pick up a
yeah,
card and I touch it, so
exactly,
that's a big
exactly.
challenge.
Yeah, it is, and and getting different designs and getting people kind of to see different things that you have in the store is difficult right now. So I think our industry will shrink to some degree, at least right after COVID. Hopefully, I think we can grow it back, but it will shrink immediately. Uh, Crane, I think it has a very bright future. I really do.
Hmm.
I believe 100% in stationery. I believe 100% in being able to support a community that wants classic design with great quality, and
Right,
I think we do that better than anybody out there.
right. Well,
Our goal, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, your heritage is of Crane is so important, and if you if you come out of this, I think it's incredibly positive for everyone else too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will tell you right now, we absolutely will come out of this. We are in a position that we know we are sustainable going forward. So we don't have any concerns about coming out of it. The question is, can we get back to all those plans that we had on the whiteboard, right? And how can you bring that future generations into becoming stationery users and lovers? Our goal has always been to bring beautiful products to a broader audience, and that's not changed.
Right.
That absolutely has not changed, and we will continue to go to work on that as we solidify and get ourselves grounded in what has really become a completely new company, from an operations and process perspective. When you do what we've done, it does change every aspect. But uh, I thank all of our customers that are being patient with us. It is not an easy time. They get lots of pressure from their customers, and we are working as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can to get caught up and get in a position where we're able to get back to the service levels that we offered pre-COVID.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great, and I think, if anything, another positive aspect is that, so many people are rediscovering the joys of writing and sending letters and getting letters, and that will benefit all of us, I hope. So,
I agree. I think you're seeing and I have a very high optimistic out out view for the holiday season. I think you will see a lot of people doing holiday cards. You haven't had that chance to be able to see and be with people this year as much as you typically do, and I think that will be as important as anything in the holiday season, to get out to try to help people say, I haven't forgotten about you, I miss you. And I'm very optimistic about what we have coming in the fourth quarter.
oh, good, good, and I am as well, and I cannot thank you enough for sitting down with me today. And I just so appreciate your time and your insights. And I know my audience will as well.
Thanks, Sarah. I look forward to actually being able to sit in the same room again soon. So,
Yeah, exactly. With any luck, hopefully I'll see you at some shows in the new year.
that sounds good.
All
Good.
right.
Thank you so much
All
for
right.
the opportunity to talk.
All right. Thank you again.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye. Hey, Paper Peeps. So, Kitty Meow Boutique has been a fabulous client of mine for a while now. So, hopefully, many of my listeners are familiar with not just the dazzling wares from this Chicagoland house of paper, but also its amazing founder, a force of nature better known as Catherine Hildner. This mom of two, with another scheduled to arrive soon, has created a most intoxicating stationery range. I define the Kitty Meow aesthetic as polished and very smart. Think of the sharpest outfit you own that you feel like $1,000,000 in, but in stationery form. Everything from typography to envelope choice comes together to pack a most enticing punch. But this range is not just about the surface. It's about honoring those connections with those we care about most. And you'll see once you visit kittymeowboutique.com that the wares are divided into witty and sweet because, as Catherine puts it, sometimes you feel a little saucy and sometimes you don't. But Kitty Meow Boutique is so much more than just another pretty face in the marketplace. The empowering messaging found on her cards, invitations, journals, coasters, art prints, and enamel pins elevates the range into something that makes you feel not just seen, but good about yourself too. Everything is essentially a little lift, visually and emotionally, for not just those you love, but you as well. Not only is Kitty Meow available for your personal shopping needs, it's also available wholesale to all those shops looking for something new with which to excite their customers. She's on Fair. Visit kittymeowboutique.fair.com and get your shop started.
finally, I think what I love about Catherine most is that she is really all about living your best life, as you'll see for yourself beneath the education tab on her site. She offers KMB Signature Collective, a mastermind for women in the product based business world who have a love for paper and giftable items, who have an idea and a plan, but need guidance and support to be successful in their efforts. I so agree with Catherine. It's so important to be surrounded by like minded women and leaders who are willing to put in the work to lift each other up. For that reason, it's not a course, it's a friggin' transformation, people. And Catherine has also started my second favorite podcast, Dreams to Plans, with another brilliant force of nature, my girlfriend Renee, to elevate your daydreams to actual, tangible plans. Oh, and if you're on Clubhouse, follow Kitty Meow so you can tune in to her weekly room Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Small Business Savvy, Insider Secrets You Need to Know. I checked it out for myself last week, and it was just the dose of inspiration and confidence my day needed. So get those good vibes going at kittymeowboutique.com and tell them Sarah sent you.
Thank you so much, Bart, for dropping by the Paperfold. And thank you, too, for doing all that you are doing to keep Crane's doors open and its clientele happy. That cannot be easy. I've been thinking a lot since I talked with Bart about all these changes to their business, as well as ultimately the product they are putting out there, namely fantastic invitations executed with the finest of American craftsmanship. To me, these invitations belong to the before times, and we're simply not in the before times right now. We have got to adapt, and that just means that some things are off the table for now. Look at it this way. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened. In World War II, all of these things were rationed, meaning you couldn't just go out and buy one. Cars, tires, gas, firewood, wood,